All right, here we go. Welcome to the Lab Rat Foiler podcast. My name is Dan, and today we have Josh bloody cool with us, mate. Like, what is this? Thanks for joining, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to join a new podcast. I'm so stoked that you've kind of taken the reins with doing a what's it called, a Parawing specific podcast. So I'm really stoked that you're diving deep into this.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your time being who you are in our sport to come to a new podcast without watching it before, and just the vote of confidence to jumping on board is awesome. I got my Code t-shirt on today in respects of all the downwinding lords at Code. So thank you very much, Code, for providing us with some amazing gear. So Josh, before we start, if anybody's been living under a rock and doesn't know who you are in foiling and where you come from, can you give us a little bit about your background in sports and everything that led to you to come to where you are today in foiling?
Yep, so I'm from Sydney, Australia. I got into foiling through my surfing background. I've surfed my whole life, and surfing for me was just getting a little bit... it just wasn't really doing it for me anymore. Like the adrenaline rush that I had to try and... Well, not that I'm an adrenaline junkie, but like the thrill that I got out of surfing was dying the more that I was doing it, basically because... to get excited over 2 foot sloppy surf when there's like 100 people trying to fight over the same wave that lasts 2 seconds, that just kind of... I rode so many different boards to try and make it new and fresh, like everything from finless to twin fins to single fins to longboards. And, each summer or each winter, I would try and get a new board to get myself excited. And then it kind of just got to the point where none of that really did anymore. And I had one of my best mates, Perth Standley, buzzing past me on a hydrofoil, and I still had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder where I was like, oh, that kind of looks lame. But I was like, wow, he's actually riding around for a half an hour without coming down. And then he was very kind to let me have a go at it. And then at the same time, another good friend of mine, Jeremy Wilmot, was buzzing around on his foil. So I was pretty lucky to have some really, really good foilers living right near me that were really the trailblazers of the time, because no one else was foiling. And these guys were just doing it, even though like there was definitely a culture from surfers, and still to this day, where they don't like foilers. But they kind of just didn't really care, and they just loved it. So they did it. And I kind of got my attention because I was like, I love doing everything in the water, and I just wanted to have that in my tool belt as something else that I can do when you can't surf really good waves.
How long did it take you to get going on the foil when you actually got one under you?
I was kind of lucky because I've done a lot of tow surfing in the past. So my first introduction was getting pulled behind a jet ski. I knew how to get pulled up with the tow rope, and we were in like a secluded spot, and we're just getting pulled around by the jet ski, and I just had that mast height management lesson where you get exploded out of the water because you're not used to so much front foot pressure. But after a few goes at that, I was like holding onto the tow rope and actually managing to keep my height in the same spot. And then the progression turned into letting go onto like a knee-high wave and gliding. And then when I got that glide on that knee-high wave, I was just instantly hooked. I was like, okay, there's something about this. We're flying along a 2 foot wave and going a million miles an hour as if you're on like a 20-foot wave.
Yeah. And then once you started surfing, you did that for a while. And then what led you into downwinding and got you into that?
Just the next progression. I feel like the way that I've seen foiling is that everyone gets into foiling because they want time on foil. Everyone wants to do that 2-for-1. And then when you start getting that 2-for-1 in the surf, it turns into a 3-for-1, turns into a 10-for-1. And then the next progression is like, I want to foil 10 kilometers down the coast and not fall. And then it turns into, I want to foil 100 kilometers down the coast and not fall. And then now the next progression for me, I think what a few people seen on my Instagram recently is mixing my big wave surfing into big wave and big ocean downwinding. And that's just just the not like I hate people think that I'm nuts or crazy, but it's not really that. It's just like trying to always find progression. And for me, like I used to when I first got into downwinding, that like I've never been in a flow state or a state of like being present for that long of a time. Like I used to get it when I used to surf big waves. You'd have it for the 10-second ride that you got. Like you're so focused because you don't want to die. And then I was getting that for like, a 30-minute downwind run. But then now that I downwind nearly every day, you lose that a bit. But then when you start adding in bigger conditions, smaller foils where you go faster, you're just trying to chase that state of presence and flow state. So it's kind of scary to know where it's going to go next, because I feel like it's always edging towards you need to have that balance of danger, but then also skill. And I think what's really cool with foiling is that foiling has so many different disciplines that if you get to that state where, I wouldn't say master, but you feel very confident in what you're doing, you then just switch to Parawinging, where you become a complete kook again, and then you have to learn from the beginning. So, but you can kind of use your skills that you've got from other areas and then mold it all together. So it's endless. I feel like every 6 months there's a new thing in foiling. There's a new crazy foil. There's a new product that gets you on foil, and it's just it's such an untapped thing that I find like narrow-minded surfers who just ride the same surfboard for the last 30 years are fully missing out on. But like I'm not gonna, I'm pretty vocal about how I feel about foiling, and I'm very inclusive. Like I want to get all my friends into doing it, but like the amount of times where I've got friends who the surf's not good for surfing, it's amazing for foiling, but they're like, I don't want to try it. And I'm like, I've got a whole garage full of gear. Like, you don't even have to buy it. Just come over and grab it. I'll give you a lesson for free. Like, and like, they're just like, nah. And I'm just like, well, you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And the thing is, like, they're totally missing out on something. But if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And I'm not going to force anyone to do it, because I know I'm having a hell lot of fun doing it myself.
Look, I was one of those people when I first saw foiling and I saw people kite foiling. I'm like, oh, that is so bad. I'm never going to do it. I'm going to do it when I'm like 60 years old and I don't have any more knees or whatever. And then after my first session kite foiling, I never touched the twin tip again, ever. That was it. I had 2 twin tip sessions after that, and that was it. So I think foiling taught me to be a little bit more open-minded. So when I saw winging, I had the same reaction. I'm like, that is the lamest thing on earth. People just standing there. And then I started winging and did winging for 12 months and loved it. So definitely a life lesson with foiling there, just to be open-minded. So and that brings us to where we are today here together, talking about Parawinging, which is the new kind of sensation in foiling. People are frothing on it. It's popping up everywhere. Every brand is trying to launch their Parawing as fast as possible. And where was the first time that you saw it? Was it just online clips, or did you actually see it in person?
Mine was online clips, and then I was fortunate enough where I was over in Maui and I seen him in the flesh. This was back when I feel like I'm probably wrong, but the main one was just the BRM one. And I seen the guys in Maui's ripping around in it. I actually contacted, is it Greg from BRM?
Yep.
And he was super nice, and he was like, oh yeah, like if we got time, definitely I'll demo you one, and we can have a go.
Sick.
I ran out of time, so I couldn't link up with him, but I got to see it in the flesh. And then when I came home from Maui, I seen a few of the guys here in Sydney had bought the BRM, so I seen them in the flesh, and they were using them. And then also when it really showed its great use was when I went to Hood River and I seen like Sawyer and Sam from Apple Tree and Hendrix, what's his name? The crazy Armstrong. Well, anyway, they were all ripping around, and like it just looked so good for it. And then
that was like, during the AWSI?
Yeah, that was like the one that just went past 6 months ago or so. So that it's just like everything's just curious to me, because like, I work for Foil Drive, so that's like, it kind of cancels out the winging because you can just use your motor. But then what I like about the Parawing is the whole idea of being able to pack it down. Because for me, I can wing. I'm not an amazing winger, but like the spots that we've got at home, the wing is always in your way. Like it's not cross off where the wing can like stay just like off to the side. It's always blown into me. And maybe because like, you know, my wing management isn't amazing, but like it does my head in. Like
Yeah, but it sucks anyway, even if you're good at it, I think.
Yeah, and like it's nearly to the point where I'm like, this, I'd rather just go out foil drive because like, you know, I've got my motor so close to the board now where it feels like it's not even there. So, but in saying that, I do love the challenge of getting up on wing. I've been learning how to go switch foot, winging, tacking and jibing. It's just like, I can go out on flat water and still have fun because I know that like I'm learning something new. And for me, seeing the Parawing, there's definitely a few spots where, or even like for downwinding, like where we start our run in at Maroubra, it's at least like a 10-minute paddle out to the wind line. And, you know,
cut that in.
Exactly. I could just like, some days when it's like not much wind, I usually, or the wind's like the right direction, I'll catch a tiny wave in the corner and pump like, you know, nearly a kilometer out to the wind line. But that's like exhausting, and you can only do that on like a big foil. Like you couldn't do that on a little foil and then be out if it was really big. So I'm thinking like if you could Parawing out there, and or even like where I live, like the direction sometimes is like not the best. Like it's not onshore, but like you have to cut really hard to make it to the end. So I was thinking if you Parawing like, you know, 2 kilometers out to sea, and then you've got a straight shot at like the end point, and then you could be doing really good speeds or times or whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think, you nailed it right there because I live in the Bay, and sometimes on the Southwest, it's that cross onshore that we're always peeling left to make it to where we want to get to. And now I just go into the Bay like 5Ks, which takes 3 minutes. And then as soon as I see a bump that I like, I just drop it, and then I have the perfect angle to get to where I want to get to. So there's no off days anymore with the Parawing. You could do upwind and downwinds and all that stuff. So look, when you're thinking about, you're getting one, right? So you're about to get a Parawing, and you're going to start exploring going out with it. What do you feel you need to know that you don't know about it?
I'm terrified, to be honest, because I don't have a kiting background. I got and like for me, winging was like so new. I've never sailed, didn't know how to read the wing. I feel like now that I have a tiny bit of wing knowledge, I can bring that over to Parawinging. So I've got somewhat of an idea of how to go across the wind. But yeah, I'm kind of terrified. Like I honestly don't even know where to start. So that's why I was like excited to do this podcast, because I want to pull as much information out of you as possible. Like when I was just down in Torquay with James, and I droned him while he had his Parawing out, and you know, and then in the car park he was letting me use the thing just to feel the wind power of it. And yeah, I'm just like, I guess, well, like everything, I'm going to start off on my big sup and a big foil. Yep. And just go for it, really. I don't know really where to start. Like, is that kind of what you would recommend?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, just biggest everything. I think James, I saw a post, he had his like 1540 out on it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's no point in trying to go out with a small gear that you want to ride and you're not on foil and you're not learning it. So yeah, biggest gear. How did you feel when you were in the car park with it? Were you feeling like you were in control?
Totally.
Was it just dropping off?
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like with the wind window, I understand where to put the do you call it a kite? What do you call it? Or just
I call it a kite.
Yeah,
I think it makes more sense to call it a kite. I hate this Parawing name.
Yeah,
but call it whatever you want. There's nobody knows what to call it.
I know where to, like, especially with the wing as well. Like I kind of understand where you need to put it. I understand that to power it up, you pull it towards you, right?
Yep,
And then to depower it, you pull the other end and it kind of collapses down.
that's right.
I understand that concept. However, I can see that it can be tricky whilst you're up. Like, I feel like if you're not confident foiling, it's probably not the right thing to learn straight away, right?
I wouldn't recommend it. I would probably recommend people to have like a wing lesson and get up on foil on a wing, because if you have to learn how to foil and manage the parawing, it's a lot. So go behind a jet ski, just learn, experience, like you said, the mast height, master that. Once you're kind of on foil and you're confident enough that you can manage the foil, then try winging, try other stuff. But parawinging is something that requires a little bit more understanding. And the hardest thing, I think, for me or for people to understand about the parawing is that unlike the wing, it's not a rigid canopy. And it's unstable. It has lines, and lines create slack in the lines depending on what you're doing on the water. So when you're trying to jibe, for example, you're going to be, running towards the parawing, and the lines will slack, and you're not going to be able to steer it. You lose complete control of it. So you have to keep it powered. So what you were saying before about bringing the parawing to 12 and bringing it down and doing those land drills are super important, because you want it to be second nature when you're out there. You want to be thinking, how do I do this? And you just want to be able to, for example, the way I jibe is, instead of leaving the kite up and high, if you do that, you're just going to go towards it, and it's basically going to fall on your head. The line's slack, you're going to wear it. But if you pull the bar down and you bring it towards in front of you, that's where the most amount of wind is coming from. And then you twist the bar, and then it goes boop, and it's now in the right position to go to where you want to go. But everything happens in a millisecond. So it's just that timing of bring it down, twist, turn, like it comes, but people struggle with the slack in the lines. And then once you fall, getting it back out of the water, line tangles and all that stuff. And then you end up losing 10 minutes in the water just getting set up to get up again, and then you fall, and you do that time and time again. So I think knowing and basic stuff as well, Josh, like just how to get out in the water, because you have all that stuff with you. The best thing to do is just to stuff it under your rashi, paddle out, and then launch it on the water.
Oh, so don't walk it out with it in the air and hold the board. Like, just stash it, and then when you're in the water ready to go, then pull it out.
If you're on an offshore wind, you can have it up because it's pulling you towards the water. Mm-hmm. If the wind's onshore, like you said, and most of your conditions are cross on or onshore, it's going to be pulling you back, and you're trying to get to the water, and the thing is kind of yanking you back. So just tuck it under your rashi, paddle out, launch it in the water. Cross-shore wind is fine to walk with it out as well. But anything onshore, even if it's a little bit onshore, I just paddle out and take it out. And then when you launch it on the water, you're getting the flow. Yeah. So the flow has a white.
Is it four? I think it's 4.2. Is it?
Yeah, that'll be a good size for you.
Yep.
How much do you weigh?
I'm 80.
Yeah, perfect. I'm 82, so it's a very good size to get out on. Over 15 knots. The other thing that the parawing sucks at is low wind, and it's super frustrating to get out there in low winds, because it's on land, it feels great because you're static, right? And you're planted. As soon as you go to the water and you launch it, you go boom, and it's on, and it's pulling you, and it's pulling you downwind because you're in the water. So then you lose a lot of that power that you felt on land. And you're like, where did it go? And so just keep in mind that whatever you're feeling on the water, it's like you're going to lose at least a third of that power when you get to the water.
Interesting. Okay. So would you say, and this is something that I didn't do with winging, which maybe I still should, would you say the whole skateboard in the car park is a good way to just understand it?
So much.
Yeah.
So much. And if you can do that, if you have the ability to get a skateboard and you know how to skateboard and do that, and you've done it on the wing, do it on the parawing, because you'll notice when you're going downwind and doing that turn, you'll notice what I'm talking about with the slack in the lines and when you have to time the turn of the parawing before you turn yourself downwind and do a jibe. If you can do that, it'll help you, man. It's gonna save you so much headaches in the water, because relaunching in the water, it can be time consuming, and you're gonna be on a long board, which will make it even harder because sometimes the lines go under the board.
Oh
because
God.
it's a long board.
Yeah. I can imagine
sucks.
that now.
So there will be a bit of swearing out there.
I'm used to that.
I spoke with Dave West the other day, and he was like just cursing everything. I'm like, but he's going out in really low winds, so it's not easy.
I actually had because I'm a part of, there's like a foil drive owners group, and it's a pretty vocal little community where they just all talk about foil driving. They love it. But I had someone actually ask me the other day, have you parawinged with the foil drive? Would that be nearly a cheat code, because you can kind of generate your own speed by motoring, but then kind of have the kite up in the air and then understand the basics of it, or too much going on?
It's a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
I foil drive for the first time just the other day, and just the management of the throttle is so precise, and like to have that with the parawing can be a little bit, I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
Like if you're really proficient at foil driving, and you can get yourself up on foil and then toss the parawing out and then turn off the foil drive, that could be something, but it's a lot going on. I think it's just easier to start without that. Just start with the parawing, because you'll notice once you get going that once you launch or relaunch the parawing in the water, it doesn't really relaunch perfectly every time. You have to really fold it in a certain way that you know that when you deploy it, the leading edge will be going towards where you're going.
Yeah.
It's pointing at the same direction. If it's pointing the other way, it'll launch and it'll pull you back, and then you have to kind of loop it, and you can save it sometimes, but most of the time you just lose speed, and then you kind of have to reset and get going again. But when you get out there, the water relaunch is important to know how to do. And it's not hard, but a lot of people they get caught up because it's a lot of lines. It's a big canvas. The 4.2 is quite large. And when it's wet, it gets
Is the
heavy.
actual canvas larger than like a 4.2 like wing? Does it just kind of spread out in more of a horizontal fashion? Like
that?
It's like more higher aspect, if that's how you kind of describe it.
Yeah, it would be, but I don't know if, for example, a 4-meter parawing has the same area as a 4-meter wing. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not quite sure. But if you compare a 4-meter parawing to a 4-meter wing, the parawing has less power.
Oh, okay.
So it's slightly...
What would be like a 3-meter wing?
3.5, yeah.
Oh, 3.5. Okay,
Yeah,
it's not too much less.
It's not too much. But the problem with the parawing is that it has a very low wind range. And the operating wind range is give or take 5 knots. So it's small. Like a wing, you can, like 50 knots. Within 50 knots, you can make it work. If you're underpowered on the parawing, you're not going anywhere. If you're overpowered, it's hard to hold on to it because it's a truck. It'll pull you. It feels like a 2-line kite that has an on and off button. So when it's on in the air, it'll poof. All right, it's happening. You'll notice that, okay, I think we have to go now. And you're just going to go. But I just want to touch on the water relaunch because a lot of people lose a lot of time on the water with it. And I think if you're out for an hour and half an hour, you're just trying to get the thing out of the water. You're not getting the most out of your session. So the way I water relaunch is imagine the wind coming sideways here. I have the parawing downwind and I'm sitting with the board kind of 90 degrees towards it. So I'm creating a little bit of drag. I'm not pointing the board towards it so my board doesn't pick up speed. And then if the wing is all under the water, I grab the leading edge from one end and I just kind of like do a little concertina thing where I'm pulling the leading edge all out of the water. So it kind of like drains a little bit of everything that it has in it. and then I open a little bit of the canvas and let it get air, like let that get power, and then I open it up a little bit more, and then when you feel that there's enough in it, you just toss it forward, and then it should go up and stay up in the air. And if it's really wet, I just fly it for maybe a minute, let it drain a little bit of that water, give it a few tugs, so you'll see all that spray come out, and it gets a little bit lighter and easier to manage. The 4.2 is a big Parawing, and it'll feel a little heavy on the controls if it's super, super wet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But what kind of condition? Sorry, go ahead.
What happens if it does get tangled up? You just have to try your best, and then if you can't do it, then you just got to head in?
Yeah, look, and that's another thing that you'll get better with it once you get more used to how it all works and the construction of the Parawing. And the good thing about the Flow is it has color-coded lines, which really helps you manage a tangle when it gets really bad. But you'll notice that you'll have to pass the bar through lines. Like, it takes a little bit to work out, but work out the knot from top to bottom. So from the front lines down or from the rear lines up. And then just try to do one line at a time, and then you're working your way up, and then it'll be free. If you start with the middle lines, you'll still get tangles because you're kind of putting things on top of other things that shouldn't be there. So work your way up or down. That's probably the best way to get rid of knots. And I think just be patient. When you started winging, it's not like you're going to get up. I think when I started winging, I come from kiting, that if I fall, I get my board, I loop the kite, and I'm out. Like, it's so fast. And with winging, I had to take a moment, just take a breather, and then reset, and then all right, this is a little slower. It's not bang, bang, bang. So I think just having that patience to reset, have everything working well, put it up, get rid of the water, get your balance on the board, and then go. I think people get a little bit excited, or they want to get going too fast. Just be patient with it.
Yeah, no, I've definitely noticed that. Even when you first start winging, and the leash is all getting tangled, and it's all new to you, and you got to be, it just takes time, experience, and then you start figuring out where to put things and how to get that out of your way. So I understand
What kind of conditions are you going to be going out on? What kind of wind?
It's always, to be honest, it's always around 12 to 18 knots. Yeah.
So that's a little light for the Parawing, the 12 knot range.
Oh, totally. I understand that. Even when I'm got my 5-meter wing, 12 knots is light. But that's kind of what we get most afternoons. So, yeah, I've heard that you definitely don't want to take it out, especially if you've only got a 4 or 4.2 Parawing. You want to take it out when it's windy, which I totally understand that. But yeah, we've got this epic spot where it's it's a little bay, and we've got wind that funnels through it. It's a super, so the tack and it's super narrows. The tack and the jibes are super quick. That's good. But we do have a rolling swell that lines up for ages, that doesn't really break. And it's super fun to wing, but the wing always just gets in the way because the wind's coming straight down the middle of the narrow bay, that it's just always hitting you and stuff. So I'm super excited to, get upwind, take it down the Parawing, and then just kind of surf the waves. So
yeah, you'll get there, man. And I would stick to just over 15 knots. If it's under 15, take it to the car park, like you said, and do the skateboarding. You'll be light years away of people that are just starting out and not having the ability to do that. It'll take you far. And the 4.2 in 10, 12 knots in the car park will yank you on that skateboard. And
I think I'm lucky too. I've got big foils, I've got big sups. I feel like a lot of wingers, all they've got is a 5-foot wingboard that's a sinker, and they're so used to going out when it's only really windy. Versus I've got the tools to give me the best chance to get going. So yeah, I just need to figure out exactly what that wind range is and get out there and do it. That's the main thing. It's just doing it. Hey, I need to learn for myself where the limits are. Like, you know, obviously you're telling me 12 knots is probably too light, but I like to test those things myself, even if I have a shocker, because
I love that.
you know, I've got an 8'4" board,
Yeah.
120 liters. I've got a 1540 foil. Like,
Check it on.
I should be able to get that thing up in walking speed. You know, I should be able to just step off the rock and pump away on it. So,
I kind of have a similar approach. I remember when I started downwinding with the paddle, I went on like 6 kilometer downwinders and just like floated for 3 hours. And I'm like, nah, I'm building the muscles that I need for this sport. And like, you know, like I just eat it. And I like to, just to make it painful sometimes for myself. But
you have to experience it. There's only so much people can tell you, oh, do this, don't do that. And I learn from only my mistakes. I don't learn from other people's mistakes. I need to go through that failure. And then usually I need to go through that failure a few times before it really sinks in. I got a knucklehead.
Are there any other parawingers in your area that could go out with you, or?
I haven't seen any, to be honest. No.
Yeah.
Like I've just seen wingers. Yeah. I haven't, like the only parawingers I've seen have been over the bridge on the northern beaches of Sydney, which is about an hour drive away from me. I've seen a few parawingers over there. However, in the city beaches where I'm from, I haven't seen any parawingers. But I'm super keen to you know, lead the way on it.
Oh, dude. Look, I'm happy you came on to have a chat. Do you have any other questions about getting started? Or I think our debrief, just to let everybody know, we're doing a part 1 and part 2. This is part 1 where Josh is just excited about it. Part 2 will be once he goes out, has a few sessions, gets up, and then we'll do a debrief on everything we spoke about here and how that reflected in the water. But yeah, look, if you have any other questions, you can shoot me a DM anytime. And
I feel like you've gone through all the basics where it's just I need to get out there and do it. So
yeah. Oh, one more thing. The Invis-leash.
Oh, yeah.
Use it. I love
Don't
that
use
leash.
it.
It's the best leash I've ever used for anything, but the coil, it will
Oh God.
it will create mayhem with the lines because it's super hard to untangle once that gets caught in the coil. And if you have like, I don't know how well you know the guys at Kaohi, but if you know them, ask them to do like a parawinging leash, which is just maybe that gray bit. And
Oh yeah, you just want the Dyneema, like the bungee bit.
yeah,
Okay.
so I bought something off Amazon for like $7, which is just a stretchy leash with like some webbing on top, and that works really well. But don't use the coil because it's so hard. And even when you're up and you like you depower and you're putting it away and stashing it away, sometimes it just gets caught, and then you launch it and then your leash goes boom and you
Oh
and
wow.
then you're down.
Okay. Now I don't know if this is the best practice because I'm not a hardcore winger, but I really don't like using a leash when I go winging because it's just another thing that gets caught around things. You know, it's not ideal because sometimes when you fall off, the board might go 10 meters away, but I usually just swim to it and I can get it. And that leads me to my next question is, you're not attached to the Parawing, are you?
I don't. I've seen people put a little leash on it.
Where? On the bar?
Yeah, on the bar. And if you are going to put a leash on it, you put it on the brake lines, so the rear lines. You could just put a little carabiner there or something. And if you let go, it's the same thing of like
pulling. Yeah.
But in saying that, like for the use that, you know, ultimately you're going to use it for, which is getting rid of it, all of those things create tangle hazards. So I don't even use a harness line on the bar. Like people use a harness and they like to, you know, ride with it hooked in. I got rid of it because the little hook on your belt, it tangles. Like that little hook, it'll get caught in the line. So I got rid of it. I'm just riding unhooked with no attachment, no leash. And if you do let go of it in the water, it floats. It'll float for 5 minutes before it starts to sink.
Also will sink.
It doesn't sink, but just imagine like, you know, a sheet in the water.
Yeah.
It starts to get like filled up with water, and all of a sudden it's just in the water, but it doesn't sink like a rock. It just yeah, it'll just be there, and then it gets really heavy to pull out because you're just.
Do you pull it by the bar or do you pull it by the material?
I pull it by the material. If you pull it by the bar, what you're going to do is you're going to capture all that water, and then it's just going to be really hard to pull up. I just get the leading edge, one side of it, and just pull it up, like I said, and then just do those little concertinas and let it drain out. But that's a really good point. Like the safety around it and how people are taking it is very different. I don't like to be attached to it. I think it's actually safer to just let it go. Like if I have any problem with it, I don't want to be attached to it.
Yeah, James actually was like telling me that you can just let it go and it doesn't go downwind. Like it might go downwind for 10 meters, but then it just stays there because like what you said, it kind of goes a little bit underwater and it just like is a huge parachute catching water.
Yeah.
So
it takes a lot of time for it to fill with water. If you're in the surf, a little bit different. If it gets caught in a wave, immediately it's already in the water. And then sometimes it's even hard to find it because it's like a couple inches below the surface and you can't see it. So the bright colors of the flow help a little bit to spot it. But I've done sessions where I have a small Parawing in my pouch. I'm with a 4.2 and have the 3. It's too strong. I go near the shore. I just toss it. And then I get the 3 out. I pump a little bit and put the 3 out and then keep going with that. And I'm like, all right. And then, the boys will get it.
That's what that's what I'm super excited about is the ease of traveling with it. Like it looks like it packs into a brick pretty much, right? And then even the brick, it can squish down because it's like super soft material.
You could put 3 Parawings in a backpack, maybe 4.
In as if like a wing backpack, like 4 can fit in that.
Like a carry-on to like a backpack that you take on in the airplane.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it would be if you get them side by side, 1 wing bag is 3 Parawings.
Incredible. That's what I'm really excited about because I'm going to Exmouth in like 3 weeks, and I'm super keen to bring the wing there, the Parawing, because I heard it's amazing there for sailing, and then also in September I'm going to Namotu, where that's the best wing wave that I've ever winged. The wing kind of just floats off to the side, but I'm even more excited to now pack it away so it's not even with you. So those are some good spots. Yeah, I feel like, especially like Goofy Footer, I feel like those spots they're made for it. So
you need to hit up a couple of guys in the West Coast. There's a lot of Parawingers there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll shoot you one of the guys, Svenny Foils. I don't know if you've seen him.
I didn't meet him, but I seen him out in the water when I was there in November. He was always out there on the Parawing. He loves it, eh?
Yeah. He's frothing. We're going to chat later today, 12 o'clock. We're talking to Svenny.
Epic.
The tall man.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, again, those were some really good points. Safety-wise, I prefer to be unattached. Less tangles. As soon as you put a clip on the bar, that's another thing that will be caught on when you get into a mess. So I avoid it, but depends on how much you want to preserve your Parawing if something does happen. Worst case scenario, let it go. It'll float forever. You'll paddle. It's going to be safer than the wing. The wing kind of starts to catapult downwind.
I've never let go of a wing. No, I just haven't done that. But I did hear in Dylan's podcast, the X-Foils, he said he did lose a Parawing by letting go.
What was that story about? He said I lost the North Parawing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a prototype one.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the exact story, but I remember him saying he let go of it, but then he lost it. But I don't know if that's because it sunk, or I don't know if it tumbled downwind, or...
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happened there, because it takes quite a while, and you'll notice that you could just practice this for a little bit, just let it go and see what happens. It takes a while to sink, so I think it might have been caught in the wave or something, and then he couldn't see it in the water because...
And then the last question I want to ask you is, who's making the best one right now?
Oh, man, that's such a hard one to answer because all of them work. I mean, like, there's the big 3 that are out there right now, the BRM, the Flow, and the Ensis. Those are probably the ones that most people have access to right now. And they all have things that they excel in. I think the BRM is the best one for stowing. It just packs down really small. The material they use is like very silky, almost cloth-like. It's not like a kite that's crispy. So it's easy to get the air out. Once you depower it, it packs down very small. So for people riding waves or need that fast depower, like they want to get rid of it quick, the BRM is probably the way to go. But then it doesn't fly as well as the Flow because it always requires you to have some tension in the rear lines. If you just ride it on the front lines, it collapses and it doesn't like that. So you always have to have a little bit of pressure on the back lines. And the Flow is something that is incredibly stable. Like you can lean on it in the water when you're getting up on the board. You'll notice you can yank it and it's going to just hover there. It doesn't really react that much like the BRM or the Ensis. So for a beginner, I think that stability is super important. You want to not have to think about the Parawing. You want to just be able to find your balance, get going. So I think it's more of a user-friendly version of the BRM, along with having the color coding in the leading edge. You'll notice that once you get riding, knowing what you have in your hand when it's a pile of canvas and you don't know what to do, like you can see the color, you look at the colors and you're like, I know where my leading edge is. This is where I'm tossing it, or I'm tossing it that way. That helps heap. Some people are actually dyeing the BRM, certain bits of it, so they can see when they're holding it where it is, and the color coding on the lines helps. The Ensis is very light in the bar. It has a very good construction. The bar is super nice. It has, when you look at the bar, it has a little bit of a curvature and it's a molded bar. So if the lines get caught in the bar, it just kind of like pulls out. It doesn't get caught. The BRM and the Flow, they have webbings. So sometimes the lines get stuck in that little webbing and they don't go through the line. But I feel the Ensis is also kind of like the BRM. It's a little bit erratic. It requires you to be a very good kiter, or like have good kite control to hone it. And the depowering ability of the BRM and the Ensis are a little bit lacking. So to depower it, you just have to sink a rail, and like that's how you hold the power. The Flow, you just ride it on the front lines and it kind of like lets that air go through as much as it can. So I don't know like which one is the best. I ride the Flows because to me, I don't really need that super fast depower. Like if I'm doing a downwinder, I'm happy to take another 10 seconds to stow it. It's not going to, really ruin my experience. But when I'm in Torquay with the boys and we're riding waves, then you kind of notice that you want something a little bit more, packable, a little bit quicker to pack. But I think for someone who's starting out, the Flow is a great option to get going and stable and easy, predictable.
How quick should I get into the downwind scenario, or should I just like stay in the bay until I'm completely competent, or should I just roll the dice and go for it first session?
The thing with you that you like you have a benefit that once you're on foil, you'll pump your way out of anything. Like you just need to maybe just practice on land the movement of depowering, running your hands through the lines, and then. This is something good to talk about. So once you get riding and you're ready to maybe try to stow it, and I learned from Cynthia Brown, we had an interview the other day. She rides in Maui, legend. And there's stowing, which is putting it in the belt, and then wadding, which is what they call it in Maui, when you just have it in your hand and you're just riding it. You're not stowing it. You just want to depower and then relaunch it quickly. But
what do they call it? Wadding?
Wadding, yeah. Like you just wad it up into a little bunch. So I'm trying to respect the original creators of the sport and using their terminology. Mm-hmm. So if you're stowing it and putting it into your belt, you want to, let's say this is the bar. That's the top of the bar. This is the bottom. You're going to point the bar towards the Parawing, and then you're going to run your hand through the lines. And when you do that, a lot of people, they go with their front hand towards the Parawing, pull your back hand towards the back, keep that position. And then it's just easier and you get the most amount of stretch that you can. And then once you have that in your hand, the bar goes under your armpit, and then you grab the canvas from the back and you hold the lines that are in your hand through the back. So then you have like the core of your little stash. That will keep the lines intact. And then once you have that, you start to just bunch it up into that core, and then you put it in your belt. But what I would suggest first is get to this point and then just hold it, and do your downwinding, do some small runs, and then redeploy it. It's really important to get that redeployment right, and you'll notice that sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So once you get going, pull it down, ride a little bit, look at where the white bit of the canvas is. That's where the direction that it will want to go towards, and then that's where you launch it to, and then you ride in that direction as well. That'll be fun to see. You should have a GoPro out when you do that, just so we can hear all the cursing going on.
No, I definitely, I think the first session will definitely be no GoPro. But once I get the hang of it and I've got a spare hand to film, or I don't know where I'm going to put the GoPro, or just get a drone to follow me. But I'm excited to hopefully show you that I can do it.
Dude,
hopefully it's not all fails. But I appreciate all the tips, and I can't wait. I think it should be in the mail any day now. So yeah,
take it to Exmouth. I think you'll get some proper wind there, and obviously if you go to Namotu, take it with you as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think the ease of traveling with it is huge. And at the end of the year, I'm going back to my wife's hometown, which is like Minnesota. It's like the middle of America, and it'll be like snowing and everything. But they get wind, so I'm keen to like just throw that in my backpack, and like whether I'm like on skis or something. And I've seen people do that already. I saw a video of someone with a BRM in the snow. They're not riding powder. I think it's too much for powder, but like a groomed like run. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You get it going. Josh, thanks again. I'm going to let you go, but once you want to catch up again and do a debrief, shoot me a message. We'll hook it up. And thanks again for everything that you do for the sport as well, man. All the information that you put out is kind of an inspiration for me to do all this and get going with my stuff as well. So yeah, thanks for all the help you do for the community, man. Thanks, Dan. No, it's I appreciate that. I love this sport, this hobby, and I just hope that it grows as big as what we all think it's going to get. And even if it doesn't, like, I'm just stoked all the people I've met so far and the fun that I've had. So yeah, hopefully in a month I can give you a call and let you know that I'm ripping on the Parawing, or not just getting dragged around by it. 100%, man. You'll be living the dream. Yeah. All right. Thanks again. Catch you, brother. See ya.